Hey guys, so time for me to sound off again. I really hate doing this, but really noticing some things in the community that are really getting frustrating and are actually kind of concerning me. And it has to do with people giving bad advice for fixing problems. And I'm going to cover probably the most common issues that I'm seeing and why the solutions people are offering should be at the bottom of the checklist, not the top. So number one of the biggest issues that has been going on since I can't remember when, and it's still an issue, is people expecting a canned profile to magically fix all of their printing problems. Obviously, some profiles are definitely better written than others, and I'm going to straight up say that I do not like the canned profiles that Kira has for machines. I feel like it does things just way faster than it should, and that's a topic for another video. But the point is, I'm not a huge fan of canned profiles because I generally do not like the settings that they're using in there. I might like a start and ending code script. I mean, that's great, but I'll usually go in there and change the settings to something that I know works and go from there. Yes, I do have years of experience printing, so that helps, but still, I'm not scared to go in there and go, okay, you know what? I do and don't like this. We're going to fix it. So I'm just leaving that at that. Now, that being said, the thing that concerns me is people will say, well, my print's not sticking to the bed, so I need a new profile. And it's like, well, have you actually gone into the profile? Maybe slow down your first layer speed, double check your first layer height, double check the flow, maybe up the initial layer temperature a little bit just to be on the safe side to make the filament a little more runny and a little more sticky. Things like that. Build plate temps, profile related things. But people don't want to do that. Or then there's the really basics of is your bed nozzle height even remotely correct? Usually it's not. Is your bed clean? Have you applied any kind of bed adhesion? Glue stick is my favorite. Things like that. And people just, there's a disconnect. They just don't want to do that. And I understand it's a little scary going into a profile and looking for things, but I'm willing to sit there and help you figure it out if you need to. I didn't have anybody to do that for me, but I feel like it's the right thing to do. If somebody really wants the help, I will give them the help. But you start calling me an attitude, see you later. Now, another thing that's really, really concerning is when it comes to general printing issues, which are usually caused by other things. Case in point, somebody was having an issue with their machine. The extruder motor was sometimes not working. So I commented, well, are you sure it's not bound up in there? Didn't really get a straight answer. Then you started having people jump in there saying, oh, your VREF is off. And for those who don't know, VREF is the amount of power that a stepper motor is getting. The lower the VREF, the lower the amount of power it's getting. The higher the VREF, the more power it's getting. There's a range that you're supposed to have them in. I'm not really going to discuss that here. It's not really a point. But the thing is, checking your VREF is something that if you don't do it right, at a minimum, you will fry your stepper motor driver. At a worst case scenario, you will nuke your whole board. Let me cover that again. At a minimum, you will nuke a stepper driver, which sucks, and then you got to spend 10, 12 bucks to get a new one. At the worst, you will nuke your whole board, which is easily 30 plus bucks, plus the time to replace it, plus probably replacing any or all of the drivers that got nuked. You got to reflash the firmware on there. It's a big deal if you nuke a board. I mean, that's a lot of work to replace it. I speak from experience when Jimmy and I nuked his GT 2560 board by accident in his A10 when we were messing around with some drivers he got in. That sucked. I ended up having to go down and reflash his board for him because I had the firmware on my laptop and have experience doing that. But the point is, checking your VREF should be the very last thing on your list. Usually you should check if things are binding. You should double check that, I don't have any obstructions. Is the item, the axis, the extruder, whatever, working right? Are things meshed properly? Things like that. You shouldn't go taking apart the electronics and starting to mess with that unless you know exactly what you're doing, and that should probably be the last thing on your list, because 90% of the time the problems you're experiencing are related to other things: a bad bearing, bad mesh, something stuck in something, a flat spot on the wheel. You get the point. The point is, usually the problems you're experiencing are because of mechanical reasons, not electrical. Now, that's not to rule out electrical issues. I'm not saying that's not the cause. I'm just saying rule out the mechanical stuff before you start hacking with the electronics, and then you potentially blow something up, and then you get where I'm going, because we've already covered that. That's a really good example of that. I mean, I remember when I posted up my video about is the Sidewinder grounded, I confirmed with somebody who is a licensed electrician that I know. He had watched my video, and I go, okay, I'm just double checking here, dude. Did my testing check out on camera? Because if it didn't, I will take the video down and I will post a correction. He goes, no, you're 100% accurate in the video. The people commenting don't know what they're talking about. What can I say? I checked with an electrician. It was correct. People still want to argue with me about it. Whatever. There were people claiming that it wasn't, and I'm like, look, people were then in the comments going, well, duh, paint's not going to conduct electricity. I'm like, you guys are missing the point. I clearly stated, I'm showing you guys that if you measure off the wrong thing, you're going to get a false reading. Just saying. So there's that. But the main thing that's kind of just bugging me right now with things is just people's just attitude of something went wrong. I don't care they don't care if it's their fault or not. They somehow think that they demand free parts. Well, you know what, guys? I had a ribbon cable go bad because I had flexed it one too many times on a weak point in it, and I finally broke one or more of the wires inside. And you know what? I went online, I bought a new cable with my own money, it showed up, I installed it, done. And it also turns out my thermistor had died, so you know what? I went out, I bought a new thermistor, it came in, done. It's not to say that you shouldn't contact customer support about things, but when it comes to cheap stuff, if you can afford 10 or 12 bucks to buy something, just buy it. Okay, seriously, it'll probably be faster than trying to go through tech support to get one. I know it's an unpopular opinion. I'm just saying that's what I do. That's what Jimmy does. That's what a lot of people I know do. Just saying. But this mentality of, even if I screwed something up because it's my own fault, somehow I demand free stuff. It's like, no, as far as I'm concerned, if you screwed something up, you should be responsible for it. It's up to the company's discretion what they want to do, and that's totally up to them. But, just be honest about what happened. Don't try and always blame things on the machine when clearly it was probably you doing something stupid. Doesn't mean things don't go wrong. It happens. I remember watching a couple years ago Jimmy working on, I forget which printer it was. He turns the thing on and it nukes two of its stepper drivers on camera. Things do go wrong, so don't get me wrong. To this day, we don't know if it was a board issue, a wiring issue. We don't know. The point is, something went wrong, something shorted out, end of the story. But the point is, don't always blame the machine for something that's probably your fault, which kind of rolls back to the original things. So, sorry for rambling, guys, and sorry for the lack of videos. I've been really busy doing some long prints for a classmate, as well as just some other private stuff that I'm not going to discuss here. But I guess the point is, just take responsibility for the advice you're giving. Realize that 3D printers are only as good as the commands you give them. Realize that profiles are only a starting point. And just, that's that. I hope you guys can at least find something useful out of this, because I feel like nobody's saying anything, partly just because they don't know, and probably partly because they don't want to say anything because they don't want to step on anybody's toes. But you know what? I'm willing to step on a few people's toes to call things out when I see them, because bad advice and fake information are the two things that will drive me absolutely bonkers very quickly, because I've been accused of things that were not true and then had to try and prove it otherwise, and it sucks. So that's that, guys. Hope you made it through the video. I will hopefully be coming up with some new stuff here shortly, time permitting. See you guys later.